Professor. Professor Marandi, always a pleasure having you on the program. First, I want to ask you about Trump's threatening of hell raining down if Houthi attacks on ships don't stop. What further escalation do you think we can expect from Washington against Sana'a?
Well, the Trump regime, like the Biden regime, is using violence and is murdering people in order to preserve the starvation siege in Gaza, because this is exactly what's going on. Under the Biden regime, the United States was attacking Yemen because the Yemeni armed forces and Ansarullah, they were saying that we will block the Red Sea to shipping linked to the Israeli regime in order to implement the Genocide Convention. In other words, as long as the Israeli regime is carrying out genocide, we will block the Red Sea to them. So Biden bombed them in order to enable the Israeli regime to more easily carry out its genocide. And this is exactly what Trump is doing as well. He is bombing Yemen, murdering people, so that the Israeli regime can continue to starve children in Gaza, because that's what's going on. The Israeli regime has blocked food and water and medicine from entering Gaza for roughly 2 weeks now. And this just shows that the United States is run by sinister genocidal monsters. And I think that it's quite clear that the United States will fail. Trump does not have any special weapon up his sleeve that Biden did not have. Yemen has prepared itself for this situation, and we have to recall that Yemen survived 7 years of genocide itself when the United States was supporting the Saudis and the Emiratis and the West in general were supporting them in carrying out genocidal attacks on Yemen. Ansarullah survived, and today it is much stronger. So I don't think that the Americans will have any success, but they are exposing their sinister intentions.
Well, you've mentioned about what you think the Trump administration hopes to gain in terms of affecting the rebel groups' activities in the Red Sea. But what do you expect the actual effect to be as a result of these strikes?
Well, it's not a rebel group. Ansarullah runs the country. The Sana'a, the capital, and roughly 80% of the population, they are governed by Ansarullah and their allies. They are the government of Yemen. But the West does not accept them as the government because they are not obedient to the West. And I think that the United States under Trump will probably attempt to strike again and again. And Trump is just as brutal and monstrous as any other Western leader, as we've seen in his support for Netanyahu. And during the year and a half when the genocide in Gaza was taking place, he always supported the Israeli regime. He never condemned the regime. So that is to be expected. But his threats against Iran, or his threats to Ansarullah and the government of Yemen, they're not going to have any impact. The Iranians will continue to support Yemen. Iran will continue to support Gaza, and it will continue to support the resistance across the board. And what Trump is doing is basically telling the world that it is Iran and Yemen that are supporting the children of Gaza. It is Iran and Yemen and the Axis of Resistance that are standing up against this genocidal attempt by the Israeli regime to starve the people of Gaza. So they are only making the resistance more popular, and Trump is exposing himself to be anything but a peacemaker.
Well, you mentioned that Iran will stand behind the Houthis, but Trump has also threatened Iran with consequences if Tehran continues to support them. So what kind of threat of an escalation do you think we're looking at between Washington and Tehran right now?
Well, that remains to be seen. But the point is that the Iranians and Ansarullah in Yemen, or as the West likes to call them, the Houthis, what they are doing is that they are supporting the people of Gaza. They are opposing genocide. they are opposing and taking a stance against the starvation siege. And the Americans are saying that the Israelis, and Trump is saying basically that the Israelis should be able to enforce the starvation siege without being impeded. So this is where Iran stands, this is where Ansar Allah stands, and this is where Trump and his allies stand. I think he's basically telling the international community who is the sinister party, meaning himself and the United States and its allies, and which party is actively opposing genocide, and that would be Iran and the resistance. Iran is not deterred by Trump's threats because I think Trump knows quite well that any military conflict in Iran will end very badly for the United States. The Persian Gulf is full of oil and gas installations, and if there is war, they will be destroyed, and that will be the downfall of the global economy.
Well, what do you make about the timing of all this? Because obviously the Trump administration has elected to launch these strikes, threaten Tehran, at the same time that it's talking about reopening the nuclear negotiations with Iran.
Well, I think there are multiple issues here. One is that Ansar Allah, the Yemeni armed forces, or as the West again likes to call them, the Houthis, they have once again implemented their decision, or they've made a decision to block the Red Sea for Israeli shipping because of the starvation siege. A week ago, Ansar Allah warned the Israelis that if they do not stop the blockade in Gaza, because right now the regime has, for roughly 2 weeks, has blocked food, medicine, and supplies from getting into Gaza, electricity and water, everything. They're starving everyone. They're starving infants. They're starving women. They're starving men. They're starving everyone. Ansar Allah a week ago said, if this does not stop, we will block the Red Sea again to shipping that's linked to the Israeli regime. So this is the reason why Trump is attacking, because he wants the Israeli regime to be able to continue implementing the starvation siege, because the West has no problem with that. You do not see any condemnation, and you do not even see this in the Western media, that this starvation siege is taking place. So Trump wants to attack Ansar Allah so that shipping can get to Israel, so that they can starve the people of Gaza, the Palestinian people of Gaza, without feeling any pressure. But again, I think that they will fail. I think that the United States does not have the ability to bring the axis of resistance to a situation where they abide by American demands. And I think basically what they're also exposing regional regimes. No one but the Iranians, the Yemenis, the axis of resistance is standing up against this starvation siege or the genocide. All the other regimes in the region are doing trade and business, transporting oil with Netanyahu. And the United States is only, I think, making Iran and Yemen more popular. Yemen today is considered to be, alongside Hezbollah and Hamas, the heroes of the Arab world. And Trump is going to make them even more heroic in the eyes of the people.
All right, Syed Mohammed Marandi, political analyst and Tehran University professor. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you.
Thank you.